What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the W Number Man. Another great episode, live episode. We're gonna go live tonight. We're gonna talk a lot about DDU in a way that I really haven't talked about it before, and I mean that. Like I've said my story, and this is the thing, right? There's a lot of people coming into my channel that are new to my channel that haven't really heard this story the way that I've told it before, or the way that I'm going to tell it now, right? So we're going to get to the real story behind my DDU and just exactly how it happens, what DDU is, and why you end up there. And for the people that do know, you'll be able to relate. For the people that don't know, this is something that can teach you a lot about solitary confinement. And I figured the best way to start this off with is something that I truly relate to. Like, no bullshit. And anybody that's been in solitary confinement is definitely going to be able to relate to this shit. This shit is crazy. Listen to this, right? This is so perfect, right? Solitary confinement in the United States, the facts, right? What is solitary confinement? I could actually put this up so you guys can see it. Boom. What is solitary confinement? Solitary confinement is the practice of isolating people in closed cells for as much as 24 hours a day, virtually free of human contact, for periods of time ranging from days to decades. Few prison systems use the term solitary confinement instead of referring to prison segregation or placement in restrictive housing units. Some systems make a distinction between various reasons for solitary confinement: disciplinary segregation or punitive segregation as time. Hold up, my fault. I was just moving the screen. Disciplinary segregation or punitive segregation is time spent in solitary or punishment for violating prison rules, and usually lasts for several weeks to several years. Administrative segregation relies on a system of classification rather than actual behavior, and often constitutes a permanent or indefinite placement extending from years to decades. Involuntary protective custody is especially common among children held in adult prisons, LGBTQ individuals, or other vulnerable populations who purportedly are placed in isolation for their own safety. Whatever the terminology, the practice entails a deliberate effort to limit social contact for a determinate or indeterminate period of time. The places where people are held in isolation also go by various names. In California, long-term solitary confinement units are referred to as security housing units, or the SHU. In New York, the same acronym stands for special housing units. In Oregon, long-term isolation units are called intensive management units, while in Pennsylvania, they are restricted housing units. That's what they're called in Massachusetts too. In federal system, one type of solitary confinement takes place in special management units, or SMUs, which is, that's actually the SMU. They changed it to the RHU, but first in Massachusetts, that's what it was called, was the SMU, special management unit. And another in communications management units is CMUs. I don't know what that is. I never heard of that. What all share are conditions of extreme isolation and sensory deprivations within a small confined space, alone or in limited cases with a cellmate. Most prisons in the United States contain a solitary confinement unit, and most local jails include cells where people are held in solitary. In addition, some incarcerated people are held in isolation in special supermax prisons, such as California's Pelican Bay, Virginia's Red Onion, and the federal government's ADX in Florence, Colorado. This today is about Massachusetts' version of those prisons, the Department Disciplinary Detention Unit in Massachusetts, otherwise known as the U or DDU, right? Some cops wear shirts that say on them they're DDU shirts, and some cops wear shirts that's called walking the toughest beat in the state. Right? Yeah. How many people are held in solitary confinement? The number of people held in solitary confinement in the United States has been notoriously difficult to determine. The lack of reliable information is due to state-by-state variances and shortcomings in data gathering ideas of what constitutes solitary confinement. The most recent and comprehensive count presented in May 2023 report published by the Solitary Watch and the Unlock of the Box campaign found that more than 122,000 incarcerated men and women and children were held daily in some form of isolated confinement in the United States prisons and jails in 2019. Wow, 122,000 people sitting in a little box across the country, bro. Like, there's bigger numbers coming. Hold on. According to the Solitary Watch, and this is the realest report I've ever read about solitary confinement, and it's the only reason I'm reading it before I get into my stories. And my stories are crazy. Today is gonna be a day where I tell you the stories about the boogeyman, the dude that jumped the cop with Hood Boss, and the mental traumas that ended up happening to these dudes and like the way it deteriorated in my history in DDU and where I went and all that shit. So it's gonna get a little crazy today, bro. Um, 42,000 people, 5.5% of the national jail population, were locked in solitary in federal and local jails on a given day in that same year. 42,000 people, 5.5% of the national jail population. Damn. These figures, which are compiled from Bureau of Justice Statistics data and supplemented with data from the Vera Institute of Justice, as well as state and local agencies, include only people who are held in solitary for 22 or more hours a day. Furthermore, they do not account for people who were held in solitary confinement in juvenile, military, or immigration detention facilities. As such, the total number of people in solitary confinement on any given day is undoubtedly even higher than what the solitary watch slash unlock the box statistics indicates. The figures collected and published by the Yale's University Lyman Center in partnership with the Association of State Correctional Administrators suggest that some people decline in the number of held in solitary, reflecting widespread advocacy efforts in the implementation of reforms in some states. A survey conducted in late in 2015 found approximately 68,000 individuals in restricted housing for 15 days or more. By 2017, the number was around 61,000. By 2021, it was estimated between 41 and 48,000. However, these figures do not include people held in solitary for less than 15 days, nor those in local jails or other types of detention. So they offer no point of accurate comparison with the numbers collected by the BJS. Earlier surveys conducted by the BJS show the trends in the use of solitary confinement over time. A census of federal and state prisons conducted in 2005 found 81,622 people held in restricted housing. The BJS 2000 census of the same facilities it found 80,870 people in restrictive housing, including 36,499 in administrative segregation. And we'll definitely get into what administrative segregation is and all that, right? That's what Aaron Hernandez was held on. 33,586 in disciplinary segregation, 10,765 in protective custody. Disciplinary segregation is basically like any unit, which is like L1. For instance, in Massachusetts, L1 is a block that they can send you to. That's not the whole, but they can send you down there for an indeterminate number of days or months or years even, right? Like if you look at Kicker's been on a disciplinary unit for a long ass time until just recently when they gave him TVs, they gave him a big up with that, but they haven't had anything but bobos or nothing, right? So these dudes are suffering in there, bro. Like, and there's no date for them to get out of these units. So they get over on the public by saying basically that this is a disciplinary unit. They're calling it a population unit, though. So it's listed as a population unit so they can get away with keeping people in solitary type, conditions for a long period of time without any type of, repercussions or anything like that. So basically, if you want to read the rest of this, you can go to Solitary Watch, and it's a crazy ass article. It's probably the realest article on solitary confinement that I've ever read. And I'm gonna get to some comments today. I kind of want to interact with all my people, man. It's been growing, bro. The channel's been doing amazing, and I appreciate all the love and support, bro, that everybody's been giving me. So salute to everybody in the chat. I'm pulling up the comments right now so I can see what everybody's saying. Hold up. Okay, K Razy, Bill Green, the boogeyman. Yeah, we're gonna get into that story. So, matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you that story pretty much. I'll kick it off with that story, right? So the boogeyman is a black dude in Massachusetts. He's a black dude. I forget his street name, like his legal name, but they call him the boogeyman. That name sticks, right? So this dude was in Walpole. He was in Sousa Baranowski Correctional Center. He's been all over the place. The times where I see the boogeyman is when I go to the Shattuck for medical care and shit like that. He would be in the wagon in the PC section. So there's a section in every paddy wagon that has like one seat in it. And this dude would be in that little, cordoned off section with one seat in it because basically everybody in the Massachusetts state system wanted to kill this dude, right? So this dude, basically the lore goes, and I've actually met the guy who says that this dude took his buns. right? He's not a bad dude. I was in Old Colony with him, but he is totally bonkers at this point. Like they say, he's got AIDS, so he's got like mush brain though. It affected his brain in some type of weird way. But they say he was like a heavy hitter in his county in Bellrica, I think it was back in the day, right? He was like an actual heavy hitter. Like this dude was somebody to mess with, right? So, but he was in Walpole, and allegedly the boogeyman, or sorry, he wasn't in Walpole. This dude says he was in P1. He was in P1 cell 2, I think he said, right? The dude waited till count time or whatever, or lock-in time, hid under the dude's bunk, and when the door closed, he hopped out from underneath the bunk and basically held a razor blade or a knife to the dude's throat and took them buns, right? So that's the story about what happened with them, right? Fast forward. So my man Paul, right? He goes to DDU. He's already getting a DDU ticket. He's in the hole. He's waiting for DDU, and they're doing showers one night, right? They're cracking all the doors. This is an L3. This is the same unit that they later on changed to the STP, which is a DDU wing, and that's where Paul ended. So did Richie Baldwin, who jumped the cop with Hood Boss, and myself. We were all over there, like these dudes pretty much opened up that place for the DDU wing in Massachusetts. And I'll get into that story too about why they opened that place, because it's savage, right? So they're doing showers one night and they crack the doors for this dude to come out. He's in handcuffs. He's getting escorted by two officers. So one officer's on his left, one officer's on his right. The doors crack. He steps out. The officers grab him by each elbow. They start escorting him down the tier towards the showers. Paul, unbeknownst to any COs, has his door pegged. The door swings open. He hops out. Bro, dices this dude up, man. The cops fell back, ran away from the scene. They didn't want to get diced up themselves. So this dude starts dicing up the boogeyman ugly, bro. Face, neck, whatever, chest, hits him up, bro. Like, gets him good. They end up giving Paul a court case, and he ends up getting smoked, bro. I think he ended up getting 10 years on and after, and 7 years in DDU. So 7 years in isolation. So the disciplinary detention unit in Massachusetts is a place where they can house you in isolation for up to 10 years. Now, in my story, I spent 10 years in solitary confinement. For people who don't know my story, that's what I did. I did 10 years in solitary confinement. I started doing time in the hole in the county. It wasn't all DDU, right? My solitary confinement time was split up from being in the regular box upstate in the max, from being in different holes throughout the state in the county, waiting to go to DDU, being held in the hole on waiting status, or just, yeah, all over the different places, different boxes, Worcester County, Barnstable County, Dartmouth County, the max. I just been in the box. Like in my first bid, when I first went in the first time, I was such a young kid when I went in. I think I was just turned 19. I didn't know how to deal with my time. I got 2.5 years to start off with, and I didn't know how to deal with it. Even at that low number to begin with, I was still such a young kid. I had been doing DYS time for a grip. So the time at that time that really, a long time to me then was 3 months. You know what I mean? 6 months, 8 months. The longest I did in DYS was 14 months. So when I finally get to state and I get that 2.5 year, jump off, I didn't take it well. I had a girl that I loved on the street, and I just, I went off, bro. I started getting in a lot of fights. I beat up COs. I got in gang wars in the county. I did all kinds of shit, bro, right? I ended up getting sent upstate as one of 3 that I know of, 3 in the history of Massachusetts convicts who got sent upstate on a transfer number. So when I first got sent upstate, I got sent upstate as a transfer number. So I was a county convict who got sent to the state's maximum security facility because the counties I had been in, all 3 of them, that shipped me out for, gang wars, knocking out the head king in Worcester. Fucking, I got stabbed by him, but I ended up knocking him out. Knocking out the CO in Barnstable. And I went to Dartmouth. I ended up hooking off on, one after the other of a specific gang. I just said, fuck it, I'm going in. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to be there, do word. I said, fuck it, bro, I'm going in, right? So that was the last stop. After I started hooking off and the gang members and shit, they were like, yeah, fuck this kid's nuts, bro, right? So I get to the box, and the superintendent of that facility, which is Dartmouth I was in EE, the same place that Slappy was just talking about in Dartmouth County. I was in EE, and I just got down there, and I ended up moving on one of these dudes in the holding tank on the way to court for the CO assault, right? And I seen him and I had smoked with him. He had said words to me in the hole when I was coming in for beating up the CO, and they had transferred me to Dartmouth. Boom, I'd been there for 8 months. And then all of a sudden, this kid's there for court. He got shipped there because he had court in that area because he was a transfer into that county. And come to find out, he was a PC. He was no good. He was a rat, like the whole nine. Dude was straight up no good, bro. Right. So I see him coming around the corner, and as soon as they closed the door for the holding tank, and the cop walked back around the corner, I hopped up. I said, "What's up, bro?" He looked at me, had his cereal in one hand and his juice in the other, and I just started lighting him up, bro. Boop, 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 boop. And no bullshit, a Jamaican kid that I befriended in one of these blocks, it was actually GA before they turned GA into a PC block, right? It was a regular unit. I had just been over there bidding with the kid, and because of that, he developed a liking to me and jumped in this fight, bro. He just see me. I wasn't losing nothing. He just see me fighting and ran right in that shit, bro. Got hopped right in, bro. Right. But anyways, man, I ended up the superintendent came to my door, my cell door in the hole. And he's like, yo, he tells me, he's like, Matt, he's like, what's going on, bro? He's like, why are you going so crazy? He's like, I said, this is what the deal is, bro, right? You see what I'm doing, bro. You see, I smashed the cup out of my county. The next person I move on in this county is gonna be a CO. I want a new home, bro. I lost all my privileges for my entire stay. So they had changed the rules in Dartmouth County back then to a 3-strike rules, right? So they give you 1 ticket, 2 tickets, and 3 tickets. After the 3rd ticket, you lose indefinitely for the rest of your county stay, all your privileges for the rest of your county stay, bro. I was like, yeah, absolutely fucking not. Hell no. And I started going crazy. And then the superintendent ended up at my door. I told him, bro, ship me to a different fucking facility, bro. This is crazy. I can't even call my mother. I can't get canteen. I can't get visits. What's the point of me acting good? There's no point, right? So this is what it's gonna be. And so he said, just give me a day. He's like, you'll have a new home, bro. Boom. Next fucking day, they're shipping me to Sousa Baranowski Correctional Center. And that's how I ended up in the state system. So when I first got up there, my whole first sentence, because I was a transfer, I could do anything DDU worthy. Move on a CO. I could do whatever I wanted, bro. Stab somebody, kick them, stomp them. This is the things that you have to do to go to DDU in Massachusetts. The only way you can get to DDU in Massachusetts is if you stomp on somebody, kick somebody in the face, knee somebody, or elbow them, or stab them. I mean, like, you have to use a weapon or an elbow or a knee or something like that, or a shoe, shod foot, something that you could pick up a case for technically on the streets. That's what they send you to DDU for, right? So it's a prison within a prison, basically within a prison, because it's a whole nother jail. And it's just crazy. It's a fucking nutty situation. But to get there, right? To get to DDU, once you catch a DDU ticket, you have to sit in the box for, some people will end up sitting in the box with no TV, no privileges, no any type of anything that anybody in DDU gets until they get to DDU, right? Then you get your TV, you get all anything that you can get in DDU, which is a limited amount of property, a limited amount of like books, whatever it is that you have. They have a specific item number, and like they changed all the COs over there now. So you got a bunch of cops that are really particular to these rules. And because of the way the cons are nowadays, people are not fighting a lot like they used to. Like when I first started going to DDU, when I first started getting locked up, dudes stuck together on some crazy heavy shit, bro. Like if one person fought the move team, the entire tier to the last man would fight the move team, and anybody who didn't would be ostracized, bro. Like you wouldn't talk to them anymore. They wouldn't be part of the crew. Any crew they were part of would all know that this dude just let their boys ride out in the hole and didn't jump in for him. So obviously he must be scared, right? And that's the way it goes in there. And it's basically like popular thinking rules. If you're the odd man out, you just don't want to be that guy too often. You know what I mean? And that comes to like what you know is right. You know what I mean? You do what you know is right. For me, that's what I'm always going to try to do. What I know is right. I don't care if the whole fucking tier is doing it. I'm not going to do it if I don't think it's right, bro. You know what I mean? And you got to have strong thinkers like that inside the walls. because if you don't, then you will have madness, bro. It's kind of like the theory behind the C Dubs. The C Dubs, they could have had a squad if they had a brain between all of them, right? But because they didn't, they would bring in people they probably shouldn't. Also, they were moving in ways they definitely shouldn't have. You know what I mean? They could have made way more things happen if they weren't all going to the back to DDU, back to DDU, back. They never get a solid squad out in population for long enough to put something real together. You know what I mean? And they weren't focused on the money; they were just focused on the violence and making a reputation and shit. And that's never really a recipe for success for any crew, to tell you the truth, because it's like the Spartans. The Spartans were warriors, bro, right? But all they focused on was the war aspects of their lives. Like, yeah, the philosophy aspects and things like that. They were Greek, but like, dude, they were a war people and they got wiped out because of that, right? The same theory goes to the warriors in prison. You have to have balance. You have to be able to be flexible or you just won't survive. That's part of survival inside the walls, being able to be flexible. That's not to say take shorts. You can't take shorts, but you can be flexible and pick your battles. You know what I mean? Not everything's a short, you know? But let me check and see what's going on in this chat real quick. K Razy, Bronx Child, what's going on, man? Bill Green. Oh yeah, I meant to get at you real quick, George M. So you wanted Jeff Hardy's information. That information that I put in this chat is his JPay information, and I contacted somebody a third party, and they're gonna get back to me about his address where he's at later tonight. So I'll have the address for his facility later tonight. He's in New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey. So I'm making connections between guys that are locked up and guys in there that are on the street is mad important, bro. So that's a big aspect of this story. So definitely hit them up and shit. If you guys know somebody that's locked up and you want to get in touch with them, hit me up and I'll try to get that information. Oh shit, K Razy, thank you for that super chat. I appreciate that a lot. And it's been a little while. I never really get the chance to, converse and go back and forth with the chat. So that's definitely an awesome thing. And I love it, man. You guys are my family. And look at how good this channel's been doing. I'm gonna get back to my DDU stories in a couple of seconds, but I haven't been able to talk to you guys in a minute. I always have guests, I always have shit going on, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about, man, how good the channel's been going, and just send salutes out to every one of my channel members, the people that are my channel members. I'm definitely putting up that members only interview soon. I'm dropping a new interview this weekend about Aaron Hernandez, right? This is his gang ties. I have another convict who did time with him in the max that witnessed his gang fights, knows what set he was in, knows all that shit. So this is another exclusive drop on Aaron Hernandez that kind of ties off that story. I don't want to make this channel like a whole Aaron Hernandez saga, right? But definitely an interesting story for Massachusetts and guys that are locked up with this man who is just a straight up all-star in the football field, but a gangster on the streets. And the dynamics of that story were pretty interesting, and a lot of people are interested in it. And so I'm glad I'm able to provide that information for the people that are really interested in it and wanted to know, you know what I mean? That people that have a right to know, So yeah, man, Sloth Bernstein, watching some of your content lately in the channel. Keep grinding, bro. I appreciate that, man. I'm definitely grinding, and we're taking this thing all the way to the top, man. This is what it is, bro. This is what I want to do for my life. So for sure. Anyways, right, I'm gonna get back into my DDU stories, right? So I end up the first time I go to DDU, right? So let me tell you first that it took me on my second bid was when I could actually go to DDU. So my whole first sentence, like I said, I spent a lot of time in the regular box. And the difference between the regular box and DDU is so drastic. So drastic. It is the worst. You do not want to get stuck in the hole waiting to go to DDU because you get nothing. It's the regular hole. All you're gonna get. Now it's different. Let me reverse, because you got tablets. And in the state system, they have tablets just like the feds or anywhere else. You could order movies. You could order all your music or whatever music you want and you listen to. You could pretty much order it on that tablet. And the movies make it big, but they do cost about $5 for movies, and you could watch them 1.5 times. So if you're looking out for your people in there, that's the truth, right? I think it was $3.99 when I left, and they were upping the price. But that's how they work in prison. Everything gets up. Canteens always going up, man. You can never get a solid price. If it's good price, wait a couple months, it'll be bad. But anyways, right? So the first time I get to DDU, this is why I go to DDU, right? So I'm on the block. This is M1, Michael 1 in Susan Baranowski Correctional Center in Shirley Max. There's a kid, Donnie. Now, there's two kids, Donnie. They're both in the same cell. One of them, his nickname is DNA Donnie. He's doing a life sentence, and they call him DNA Donnie because his DNA was found in the buttocks of another man who was found with his pants around his ankles at the bottom of a bridge, and that's DNA Donnie, right? That's what he's alleged to have committed for his crime, and yeah, fits, right? So, anyways, the other Donnie, we call him Donnie Diamond because he's got a diamond in his face, right? Big freaking oaf of a kid, right? So, let's see what my buddy said right here, CC508. DNA Donnie from Worcester. Yes, sir. You know it, bro. You know it. So, I get it. These dudes. So Donnie Diamond owes me money. I've been selling both of them Suboxone. He owed me for a quarter. It was nothing big, but I sold each one of them a quarter, right? And one of them paid me, which was, DNA Donnie. DNA Donnie had a lot of respect for me, never caused any issues for me, but he was backing his dummy ass Selly dude. And I heard him, bro, right? Which is why I couldn't, I didn't want to let it slide. So check it out, right? So this dude, so in the days leading up to this, there was some people sitting at our table in the area of our tables. So when I first got back on my second bid, they actually put me in a chow hall block. So I was in a chow hall block with my buddy Jacob. He was a good friend of mine at the time, and he got me moved over there because he worked in the classification wing with the classification officers. So as soon as I got back in the building, he's like, "Yo, move my boy up there," because he was up there with nobody, bro. I think he had like Moby, who was lugging packages. God rest his soul now, but he was getting serious packs in, and so he was living good. He wanted to get me over there, and as soon as I got over there, he hit me off with like a 5-pack. And Moby hit me off with a couple of strips. Mort Beezy, what's good, bro? What's the word, my guy? Ah, man, I fuck with you, bro. Mort Beezy's definitely another guy who's done a lot of time in DDU. Me and him spent a lot of time in the max together in N1, all over the joint. Mort's definitely one of them guys who puts in work in the joint. He's not out here lying about his shit. He's definitely one of them dudes, bro. Salute. So, anyways, right? When I go to DDU the first time, this dude owes me money. So one morning, yeah, salute. You already know, bro. So one morning, what was I saying? Oh yeah, one morning, the only morning I never go to chow. So the only morning I don't go to chow. I go to chow every single morning because I'm always up. I work out, I wake up, I do my little pieces of boxing. This is my routine. And I get up, I do my boxing, I drink my protein shake, I drink my coffee, and I'll probably do a little bit of a workout, get my blood flowing before I come out my cell. I'll go to breakfast, eat my breakfast, and whatever we have, movement, yard, gym, library, whatever it is, I'm trying to get off the unit. So we'll go somewhere, go to hit the yard, hit the gym. And in my eyes, if you're never hitting movements, it's pretty suspect. You know what I mean? So I try to hit every movement, see people in the yard, see people in the gym, you know what I mean? Make my little rounds and shit. You're hustling, you always got to move around. You know what I mean? You got to see people. You're always making moves. You're connecting with people on the south side of the joint. You're connecting with people downstairs in the chow hall blocks. You're connecting with people everywhere, right? But at this time, right, I'm in the chow hall block. He got me moved over there. I'm selling shit. And I don't go to breakfast this one morning because I'm sleeping in. Fuck it. You're in prison. Some days you sleep in. So I stay back. I sleep in. And when my boys get back from the chow hall, Jacob comes to my door. He wakes me up. He goes, "Yo, Matty, bro, you're not gonna believe this, bro. But old boy came to the table and told me, specifically found me and told me that he doesn't owe me money because he checked the dude off the block for me last night." So I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. I checked that dude off the block last night. This dude didn't do that. That was me. This motherfucker must have been so stupid. He thought I got someone else to do it and he could take the credit for it, right? Because he owed me the money. So the night before, I went to him and I told him, listen, there's a dude who is basically that guys were saying that they knew for a fact he's the one who told, but it wasn't him. It was Donnie the whole time. Donnie was the rat. Donnie's the weasel, and I knew that shit in my heart and soul. I'll tell you why, right? So this dude's a weasel, right? So I go to the whatchamacallit, he comes back from thing, tells me this dude doesn't owe me money because he checked him off the block. So what happens is the night before, I asked him to check this dude off the block, And he said, nah, man, I'll just pay. I said, okay, bro, but I'm telling you right now, bro, if you don't, I'm gonna need my money tomorrow, bro. I want my money, right? If you can't take care of this, I told him I wanted to see blood. You know what I mean? I told him take the dude off in a spectacular fashion, and you don't owe me nothing anymore, right? He said, I'd rather just pay. I said, okay, bro. So I went to the dude myself. I said, listen, if you're here when we come back from chow, someone's gonna, pretty much someone's gonna hurt you. And he was like, okay. And he was gone. When I came back from chow, he's gone, right? But it wasn't right, bro. These are the things that I did, and I fucked up, man. Like this dude, I don't know what he did wrong, bro. I don't know if he did anything wrong. He was just a dude that was acting super suspect, and guys said they heard him on the phone talking to the Ibs, bro. But that's total fucking bullshit, right? Because then check this out. A day before this all happened, the day before we checked that guy off the block, we all get called down to the Ibs. Now it's me, Jacob, the kid Donnie, the other Donnie, and it was everybody sitting at my table. I forget exactly who else was there at the time, but Donnie and Donnie didn't sit at my table. Neither one of them did. It was my table, which is me plus three other guys. So me, Jacob, damn, I forget who else was sitting at my table at the time. But either way, right? It's not important. But yeah, it was in a weird block. I forget exactly who it was at the time. It was people that I wasn't normally around. But anyways, because it was like a privilege block, you know what I mean? I was always using the violent blocks or like the hostile units, like the feeding blocks and shit. And it's the first time I was second time I was even in a child block. So I don't remember these dudes. I forget exactly who I was sitting with. Maybe I was only sitting with three people. Sometimes you don't have a lot of people at your tables. You can have one, two guys. You know what I mean? It's big ass chow hall. So there was guys coming over though to sit in our area, and me and Jacob were checking them out of there, dude, telling them you can't sit over here. Right? It's like we don't want the universal table being right next to ours. So we told them to beat it. But because we were doing that, they were trying to find other places to sit, and guys were getting lit up and they were getting in fights. And so the Ips call us down to the office, and they're like, listen, what are you guys doing down there? We know we have word that you're checking guys off the tables in your area, blah, blah, blah. Like guys are getting in fights down there in the chow hall. We don't want that. Like, but all we want to know is if we can send you back and nothing's going to happen in the chow hall tonight. Right. So when they called, but they were telling this shit to the other guys. So when they called me into the Ips, right, it was Shepard. Shepard calls me in. Now, I don't usually get called into there. They know better than to call me in there. I'm not telling them shit, and they know it, right? So they call me in there, and really, he was going to tell me, like, he just is worried. They don't want to have nothing happen in the chow hall. So he was just, I don't know if he was testing the waters or what, bro, right? But he calls me in there. First thing he does is he grabs the phone, and he moves the phone away from me. He grabs the fucking paperweight, moves the paperweight, grabs all these little objects on the desk. He moves them away from me, and I'm looking at him like, yo, what the fuck? And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm just, making sure that you don't hit me with anything. He's like, I'm going to ask you a question. He's like, I don't want you to take any offense to it, bro. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, I just want to know. He's like, is anything going to happen tonight in the chow hall, bro? Because we have word from people that you guys are checking people off your tables and that something's going to happen tonight. I said, bro, I don't know what you're talking about. Nothing's happening in the chow hall tonight. Bye, bye, bye. Right. So he's like, well, he's like, okay, I'll send you back to the block. He's like, it's no big deal. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay. And they put me back in the thing. And, obviously they didn't get all I said was, man, you're good, man. I'm not, nothing's going to happen in chow hall. Right now, I could have, I'm just go back, even if I want to do something in the chow hall, because I say, yo, yeah, you're good. What do I know? Nothing's going to happen in the chow hall. Like, yeah, whatever. And so I fucking go back and I get back in the cages. And when we're in the cages, they're about to send us back to the block. And Donnie Diamond goes, Shepard comes out to talk, he stands in front of the doors, and this kid Donnie starts going, oh yeah, he's like, oh, we're good, right? We're good. And Shepard goes like, he's like, he looked at him funny. He's like, yeah. He's like, we're good. Right. And he's like, tries to change the subject and like talk to us like, yo, what the fuck is this kid doing? Like, and so I looked at him real quick. Funny, like I'm looking at Shep's face because I could see him like, what the fuck would you say that for right now? Like that type of look. Right. And so the kid doesn't shut up. He goes, now the kid's a total moron. So he's like, I'm just saying, bro, like about what we talked about, he's like, about the phone call. And I'm sitting there going like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? What phone call? Right. And I'm in my head like, dude, what is this kid talking about, bro? Right. He obviously had some type of conversation with him before we got down there. So I'm like, something's not sitting right with me, bro. So we go back to the block And I tell before we left too, he said one more thing. He said, "I'll take a drug test right now." And I'm like, "Yo, motherfucker, why would you say that, bro? I'm dirty. I will not take a drug test. I don't want to take a drug test, but I'm not saying that, but I'm just I'm like in my fucking thing, like, what the fuck would you say that for, bro? Like, shut the fuck up." He's one of those dudes who's such a rat, you gotta smack him to shut the fuck up, right? And so this dude, we go back to the unit, and I'm like, yo, this dude's definitely fucking funny business, bro. And then that whole shit happened the next day, bro. So it's like, man, that fucking kid, or maybe not the next day, but the day after, something like that. But yeah, that fucking kid was just no good, bro. And then come to find out, he goes to the south side of the prison. When he's over there on the south side of the prison, bro, he gives a note for the IPS. He puts it in the top of his door at nighttime when they put up mail at night. So the way they pick up mail in the max is you put your mail up at the top of the door, and they come around at nighttime and they pick up the mail. So he puts the mail up at the top of the door. Cop comes around. He has to look at the mail to see what the address is and make sure it's you and your name on the return address, because people do send out letters in other people's names to people's families on some fucking weird shit, right? So this dude looks at the envelope, and instead of putting it in the box, he slides it off to the side, keeps the letter, and then gives it to the dudes that were on the block at the time. He's like, "Yo, you might want to check this out. Your boy's sending letters to the IPS." And dudes are like, "Yo, bro." So they read this letter and immediately go down and smash the kid's derby, bro, right? But the kid was no good the whole fucking time, and I knew that shit. You know, like when you're in prison, you have a good judge of character. Like you could see, man, that kid was just so fucking funny the whole time. But anyways, right? I end up in DDU. Yeah, free the guys, bro. Ain't ignorant. Mike L's. Me, myself, and Irene. That's a funny name. Free the man. Free the man, them. Peace from Newfoundland. Big Irish population here too, in similar accents. Dope podcast, G. Thank you, bro. Salute to Newfoundland. That's pretty cool. I haven't had anybody from Newfoundland, so you're a first timer. Definitely spreading the word. W numbers hitting the whole planet. Yo, all my guys that were with me up in the max watching right now, what do you think about me, your boy that sat on the block with you, struggled in the cells with you, spent massive amounts of time in solitary confinement with you, fucking did nothing with your life with you, is out here now doing big things with you? Yo, Mort Beezy, he's doing big things. Oh, bro, this shit is so dope, bro. Salute to every convict who comes out and tries to chase a dream, bro. Salute to you, and I'm praying for you, bro. May every, Lord Jesus, man, may every convict who gets out, who wants to change their life and change their ways, man, let them chase their dreams and reach their goals, man. Amen about that, bro, right? So anyways, right? So I end up in DDU. When I first get to DDU, bro, the getting to DDU is a mission, first of all. So right after I beat the kid up, I go to SD. The first, yeah, right? So now it's coming back. Sorry, right? I got it. Sometimes, I'm human and this is live. So I'm thinking about the story as I'm telling it, keeping it 100%, right? So the first few times I go, I get DDU tickets. I don't go to actual disciplinary detention unit over there in Walpole, right? Because the way the laws were when I first started getting DDU tickets on my second bid was if you had any SMI category thing, right? Which is a severe mental illness, technically a severe mental illness. So if you have major depression, anxiety, panic attacks, whatever it is, something like that, as long as it's on your records, you will go to a mentally, like a long-term isolation that caters to your mental health, right? So it's still solitary confinement, but the perk was that there's plenty of perks. Sorry, I'm going to tell you all the perks. This is probably the best time I've done, right? No bullshit. And there's some other crazy perks to it that don't make any sense at all for us, right? So check it out, right? It's like they're encouraging violence. I'll tell you in a sec. So check it out. I get to the hole, and 30 days later, I don't have to wait any longer than 30 days, because at that time, the laws for mental health, you cannot do more than 30 days in the box. But they were letting a lot of guys with severe mental illnesses that they didn't have respect for their gangster, right? Because they knew if they tried to keep me over there and I wanted to, I could act up and I could sue them, right? And I would act up. Like they knew what time it was. If they didn't fucking treat me the way I wanted to be treated or treat me with the respect and dignity of a human being, I would definitely fight the move team. I would definitely make them work. And at times, I got to the point in my head where I even cut my own fucking self, bro. Like I was so angry, and like a lot of people would get up here and they will not keep that real with you, bro. They will not tell you about that aspect of their life. But I'm keeping it all the way funky. Like no bullshit. Yeah, I fucked up, bro. Yeah, at times I definitely I put the blade to myself, and I was out of anger, not so much suicidality. Even though you definitely toss it up to God, so when you go like that, but you know, out of anger, straight up anger, just being locked in yourself for so long, you just don't see the light. You don't see the way out, and you could get lost in your head, especially like after my brother got into the fight with the COs, shit got dark because first of all, I had a Suboxone habit. So when that happened, they locked that joint down. Like no visits, no nothing. The only time I've ever been without any drugs in that place ever, right? For at least a few months, right? At least a few months. And anything that did pop around, it was $1,400 for one 8 milligram Suboxone strip. That's how scarce it was, right? So guys were caking it up. If you had that shit and you came there, caking it up, bro. People would pay you $1,400 for a strip or like $600 for a quarter or something ridiculous like that. I wouldn't do it. I'm not doing that. I'm all set. I'll save. And it wasn't because I didn't have the money. Because if you listen to Sticks and other guys that have done time with me, they'll tell you I have money. Like I hustle in there. But I am not dropping all that hard earned money, bro. Things you have to go through many headaches to get that money. And then to give it all away for a $1,400 strip is fucking nonsense, right? So, yeah, man. Ryan Tebow, what's up, man? What's good, Lee Medeiros, Mike Els, No Justice and Peace. What's good, man? How you guys doing, man? Appreciate everybody showing up. Everybody hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, become a member. If you want to support the channel, the Cash App and the PayPal is running right along the bottom, or you could let a super chat, whatever you could do to help support the channel. I told guys I would kind of let you know what I need tonight, which is my subscription to StreamYard is literally about to be canceled. $49 and until I get my next YouTube paycheck, which is going to be the biggest one I get yet. So this next paycheck after that, I should be all set on the record for a little while. But until then, I'm going to need this to keep it going. And any help I can get still, bro, it's always going to be a mission keeping this going, bro. It's a lot of work, bro. So anyways, right back to my story. So I get to the SDP, and after 30 days in the hole, when I first get over there, you go in there and you start off on phase 1, right? So it's a phase unit. So you start off phase 1, they got phase 2 and phase 3. Now, this is the rules. You're not going to believe this, but this is like, they call it Candyland. Like this is beating the system 101, right? Candyland. But it's really not like that. It is still hell in a box. It is no treat to be there. It is just better than DDU. And because you get these perks, people in DDU call it Candyland because they get absolutely nothing. And I've been to both places several times, many times for many years. So I'm going to tell you both versions of what's going on here if I make it tonight, right? So in the SDP, you start off on phase 1. That means that you come out of your cell for 1 rec a day for an hour. Or I'm sorry, for 3 hours. You come out for 1 rec a day for 3 hours instead of the typical 1 hour you get in DDU, right? And that's from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock every single day, right? Or is it 2 hours or something? Yeah, it's something like that. 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Something like that. It's either 2 or 3 hours every single afternoon, right? It's 2 hours. 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, that's it. 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock every single day. You go out on the rec deck. Now, the picture that's behind me on that screen, this is the STP. That's where I went every single day. That's the group setting right there, right? So a teacher would sit where the TV is, right? And we would go in those cages and we would sit there and watch either the movie that they put on the screen or listen to whatever the program instructor had to tell us. Like they did a lot of groups about anger and violence reduction and like cognitive behavioral therapy. They did all that shit, right? The cell I was in, you can see my cell. My cell was straight. Oh, so sorry. This is facing the other way. This is facing towards the bubble. So that's the bubble right there at the end of the tier. If you're looking, you can see the bubble, but the exact opposite way down the other end of the tier is where my cell was. And right here, where these cages are, is where Paul diced up the boogeyman on this tier. Where this happened, right here, where these cages are, these cages weren't there before. They were on the L3 side, right? They moved the cages from the L3 side to the M3 side for whatever dumb, nonsensical reason. It's the same fucking unit, right? It has the same shape, same everything. But this is what I think happened. I think it was the Latino Heat, who was Eddie Ramirez, flooded out so much, right? He was flooding the tier so much that when I first got to the prison, you could see coming, they had trash barrels lined up along the CO's desk and all the way to the back of the block because in the roof, the hole is on the top of the tier, top of the roof, right? So the kid was flooding out and popping the sprinklers so much that it leaked through the ceiling and just constantly dripped through the floor. And there was big brown spots and like watermarks. And that's how the kid Pedro ended up breaking through the ceiling and climbing up into the ceiling and fighting the move team like from the ceiling. That's how he did it. He got it up in there with the fire extinguishers because the ceiling was rotted out right above there. Because he was flooding out and shit so much in the STP. And when I first got here, you can hear him up there in the STP singing in little Spanish words, bro, right? And I'm sorry if that little tiny bit annoyed you, but I am telling you for 5-6 days at a time, night and day and night and day, Eddie Ramirez bro, it's the fucking craziest thing you'll ever go through in your life. I lived right below him, and I was literally going like this at night. I was losing my fucking mind. I'm like, is this how this whole place is? Because I can't even fucking sleep, bro. Like, this dude is nuts, bro. Like, shut up. You know what I mean? Dude had no respect for his neighbors, no respect for anybody. Kid was totally nuts. I made a video about him, so you could go check that out. It's the Latino Heat. But and he spent like 18 years in solitary confinement in DDU. One of the worst DDU stories I have. But the other one of the worst DDU stories is about my friend. And I'm going to tell you that right after I tell you about my first day or my first experience in the STP. So when I get up to the STP, Richie Baldwin is up there. Now, Richie Baldwin is the person I'm going to tell you that story about. It's a sad story. It's fucked up, right? So when I get up to the STP, I find out that at the end of every week, as long as so this is what you get. If you go to rec, you get a point for every hour you're out of your cell. So even if I take a shower, I get a point because some of those guys that live on that tier are absolutely and totally schizophrenic. They can't even think straight. They talk to themselves all night long. They have severe, legit, real, and they're not getting over on the system type mental illnesses. Like bad, not created from solitary confinement like mine were, but created at birth from God and however he, his wisdom made us. Like they're getting tortured in there. And it's no joke. These cops don't have any sympathy for these guys. All day, all night, the administration never sees them. They don't give a shit. Once a week, they do happy hour. They'll come around, see just how crazy they're actually getting. It gets exacerbated as time goes by. This kid, Izzy, for example, he thought he was Bin Laden's uncle, or he thought Bin Laden was his uncle, sorry. And he would just scream and scream and scream about Bin Laden all day and night for literally weeks at a time, never sleeping, not once, right? So there's guys totally losing their mother and shit up in that DDU. And you just can't get around that, bro, right? So this is why they opened up the STP, is because they had all those guys, just like every other convict in DDU, where you can't keep people like that. You could hardly keep regular human beings over there without it being considered torture, that it actually is considered torture now. and they closed DDU because of that reason. And now the only place in every single person in Massachusetts is considered to have a severe mental illness if you spend more than 15 days in the hole. So after your 15th day in the box, you're considered severely mentally ill and you will go to BMU and the S or the STP. Those are the only two options at this point for people that are going to DDU, or you go down to this unit, I think on it's in the bottom. They just built it and it's M1 and it's like a DDU wing and it's terrible from what I hear. It's just horrible, right? They just started building the cages out in between the STP wing and in M1 and M2 and N1 and N2. Or yeah, N1 and N2. Yeah, it's shitty. It's a shitty situation. It's like they're building more solitary confinement cells as they're closing another solitary, they're opening another one, trying to say, like, oh yeah, we're cutting down on solitary confinement. No, you're not. You just build a whole nother unit. You just closed down that one, made it look good, right? Because that place is just so ancient and fucking decrepit. It's a literal dungeon, right? Let me finish this so I can tell you about it, bro. It's fucking nuts, right? So, but this is just as crazy too. Like, this is just as dynamic, right? So, and it's cool to hear about these things that you can actually get. And like, it's something to be said about, you know, the system that really saw a need for something like this and then created a space for people to actually kind of get a little bit of help while they're sitting in solitary confinement. It was what I needed, because I'll, you know, lose your mind sometimes, bro, right? But you get at the end of the week with your points that you earn from going to programs, groups, shower, you know, whatever you go out of yourself for, even to watch a movie on the weekends, because on the weekends you could buy passes with those points and go sit there and watch a movie, right? In those cages behind me, right? So that's what we would do. And we were all sitting up there for stabbings, you know, serious staff assaults, whatever else. I mean, this is like a legit solitary unit for people that are up there for serious violence. You know what I mean? Um, so we could buy food, we could buy, you know, candy, we could buy hygiene, you could buy whatever else. And this is also good for people who don't have any family, who are so schizophrenic they can't even make a fucking phone call to be able to buy, you know, hygiene, whatever else. That was cool, right? But anyways, we would get the good thing about being in the STP is that we were right over the main camp. And because of that, I could fish downstairs and get whatever I needed at any time, because I'm a boyo. All my brothers were downstairs. Everybody that I knew was downstairs below me, and I got mad love. I would do my whole DDU bid with everything I needed at all times. If there was times when I was on phase 1 because I thought the move team was going hard. Then, you know, they would send me up coffee, they would send me up drugs, they would send me up whatever I need at the time I need it, bro. And it was just real lovely, bro. And I was able to get pills myself, so I was always, you know, trading whatever. But so the way you get it is you go out to the rec deck, and let me see if I can find a picture of this rec deck right now, because I do have one that I can put up for you. And it's crazy. It's funny. Oh, right here. Boom. Oh yeah, you got it. So I gotta put it down real quick. Hold up. Boom. That's the rec deck right there. Let me see if I can put myself over a little bit. This is the rec deck we would go out to all the time, right behind me, right here. That orange color right there, that's a guy that's in the STP. That's the only place in Massachusetts state prison facility that you get the color orange. It's in the STP. And the only place you get the color tan is in DDU. So if you see a convict in transit or anywhere that's wearing orange or tan, they're most likely, and it says DOC in the back, they're most likely in the DDU, STP, or DDU, or they are in the STP or DDU. But this rec deck, we would go out there. I've been in the same cages, handcuffed and unhandcuffed, you know, doing my little workouts right there on that same rec deck every single day for many, many years, just going out there, working out, doing the same routine and fishing off the rec deck. So the way we would get shit is, you see the bottom, the slit right at the bottom. See, he's looking probably at a line. The way his head is, it looks like he's looking at a line, right? Hold on. See, he's looking down like that at the bottom, the slit at the bottom of the rec deck. So underneath there, you would take a battery and you would tie it on a string, and then you would slide it in between the fence on the outside and underneath the bottom pole. It would go out there. It would drop down through 2 rows of razor wire to the next rec deck, right? And if you were going to the first rec deck, a person would be waiting down there on N2 with their little pole, and they would reach out, they would get your line, they would pull it in, they would tie on whatever it is you're sending up, razor blades, Suboxone, K2, whatever it is, bro. A little white lightning or just anything, coffee, whatever you need while you're in the box. And then you pull it up and it's got to fit through the little triangle at the bottom of the cage. And then you have whatever you need while you're in the hole. And that was the way we did it. Or you could do it through the toilet, which is a little bit different. You put a hook on and you drop it down in the toilet, and they put a net and flush it down the toilet, and they both hit in the toilet, connect, and then you could fish to, you got a direct line to population through your toilet. And I would keep a line hooked up to my toilet all the time, non-stop, man. I would always have what I needed, straight direct line to population. But anyways, right? Yeah, Joseph, thank you, bro. My name is out there doing good things. Keep it up. First time in the live. Show much respect, man. Thank you, brother. Fall River in the house. Red is 10 black. I don't know what that. Yes, I need a job. No toilets. Some jails you go to school in them cages. Fact, brother. Is there toilets in those cages? Nah, there's no toilets. Those cages are actually, I'll put that picture back up in a second. Actually, I could just switch right over to it. Those cages are actually built right in front of, it's hard for me to see from here. They're built right in front of cells. So in behind each one of those cages is a cell. So it's in the cell door of each one of them cages. And oh yeah, it's right behind me on my thing, right? So these cages right here. So in the back of those cages, you'll see it's built in front of a cell. So they took this unit and they took the cell doors off those cages right in front of where those cages are, and they built them so that they sit back in the cell. So when I'm in those cells and I have trash, I just throw it over the back into the cell. And in that cell, there must be some shit in there, man, that goes back many years since they opened this shit, because I'm throwing trash back there all the time, and everybody does that shit, bro, right? Man, I don't wonder what you find back there. Probably packages, drugs, whatever else, because they'll put you in there sometimes before they strip search you. You just drop it right in the back or hide it or whatever you do. But so anyways, right? So I do my little time up there in the STP. The first time I was up there, you can earn time off of your STP sentence. For every 3 months you do good with no tickets, you get a month off. And the first few times I went up there, I got no tickets. I just do good. I get on phase 3. And when you get on phase 3, you can hit the yard, you can hit the gym, you can hit, you get actual movements without handcuffs and shackles on. That's one of the biggest perks about the STP is I'd be out in the yard. I'd be talking to guys from P1, you know what I mean? Like just being able to move around and just get that air, that fresh air and that movement without the handcuffs on is a little humanizing. And you got other guys on the block with you that are on phase 3. So if you have issues, like if you have words with dudes through the door, you can actually see them and shit. You know what I mean? And there is fights, bro. I seen a good ass fight too. Even so, another thing you get in STP is you can sit at the tables, right? And when you sit at the tables, you get shackled to the tables, but your hands are free. So you can go out there, you buy a ticket with your points you get, you buy a ticket for every hour, and you can go out there and you could play poker, you could play chess, you could play whatever you play with the other dude whoever you're playing with or whatever. So this kid his name was P90, right? He was out there, P90 Ruger. He was out there. He's got a twin brother. That's why I remember. And his birthday, I think, is the same date as me and my twin brother on a different year, which is crazy. So we're both twins and burning the same day. And he's black, I'm white, and we're in the same facility. It was kind of weird, but his twin was in DDU and he was in STP. My twin was in DDU and I was in STP. So it was kind of weird, but he was at the table and he was playing poker with this kid, Rain, who was a GD. And they started having words. Rain was a little slick with his mouth and he got bread, bro. Like he had a lot of bread, bro. And he was throwing his money around, like bullying the pot. And the kid P90 Rue was like, he didn't like that shit, bro. And the kid Rain said something slick, and P90 said, "Look, listen, bro, don't be saying stupid shit like that. I'm serious." And kid Rain brushed him off, and so boom, he starts lighting him up. They stand up to fight. Rain's shackle comes off his ankle, so the shit just popped right off, and they're standing face to face like an Irish fucking line fight, just smashing each other in the face, dude. Boom, 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 right in front of my cell. Straight up bloodbath, bro. Like that shit was a good fight. And I'm like, yeah, that was the good one, bro, right? And then another thing that happened when I was up there, which was super traumatic for me, and this is when my bid started changing, and this is when I started actually like, cutting myself and shit, is my brother was downstairs in N1. I was in SDP, and the whole time I'm up there in SDP, he's down there, and he had become a C-dub, so he's running with the gang. And I didn't like them dudes, bro. They're all knuckleheads. They're steering them in the wrong direction. They have no brain between the whole lot of them, including my brother. But I love my brother, and my brother's actually a good ass dude, loyal as they come. He's a pro fighter, so he's giving them an edge they didn't deserve. You know what I mean? In my eyes, and the way I saw it at the time, especially because I told those dudes, don't even talk to my brother. If you recruit him, there's gonna be problems. And that's what they did. And it started a fucking war. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was a problem, bro. Right. So I tell him not to mess with this dude, but they're down there in N1. I mean N2, sorry, N2. And he kept on going back and forth to the hole, back and forth to the hole. And he was writing me letters and he's telling me, like, yeah, man, administration's talking about sending me down to N1, but he doesn't want to look like he's running away from the problem. But he's got a problem with the COs on the block. I said, bro, fuck those COs. Like, they're not going to get in trouble, kid. You're going to catch time and shit, bro. Like, fuck that shit, bro. Go to a different block. He's like, nah, I'm just gonna go back there, bro. I don't want them to think I'm scared of me. I mean, I don't want them to think I'm scared of them. And I'm like, man, fuck what they think, bro. I've been through this, man. I smashed out COs just because I wanted them to respect me, bro, right? And I don't need it no more, bro. I don't need that validation, man. Fuck all that shit, bro. I'm going home when I want to go, when I'm supposed to go home, bro, right? But he was his first bid, he was still going with gusto. And I don't blame him, bro, because I say these good things, but as soon as something gets crazy, my anger takes over and I'm doing something I just said I said I would never do. You know what I mean? Like one week I told my boy I wouldn't stab somebody. I don't want to do life. Next week I got a knife to the kid's throat, right, bro? Like, so it's like, you always say like, yeah, you have the best of thinking, like the best of intentions. Yeah, I'm going home to my mom on time, but prison's a volatile place and you cannot predict what's going to happen. Some crazy motherfucker come up behind you, stab you in the neck, and it's over for you. You ain't going home anyways, right? So you got to be on point no matter what and handle your own business. You know what I mean? Hold your shit down for yourself and for your family. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just you that's going to suffer if you don't make it home. Your family's going to be suffering. So I always thought in my head, like, I'm coming home to mama. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't taking me out, bro. You ain't taking mama's baby boy out. Like, I was raised right, bro. I know I'm smart. So I got is in peak physical condition. I'm talking about 1,000 Navy SEALs a day. Like, I'm talking about in DDU, I would crush these workouts. And if you think I'm lying, you can ask anybody who's been in DDU with me, and they will tell you I go win like a savage, like nobody, bro. And the reason why I did that is because I used to think like guys talked about skin tight. They talked about like Fatih, all these dudes that worked out were like super beasts, bro. They would do 1,000 pull-ups a day, 1,000 dips and 1,000 push-ups and 1,000 squats every yard or whatever. So I'm thinking, man, if they can do it, I can do it too, bro. If they're gonna be the biggest savages, I'm gonna be the biggest savage, bro. Like, I'm going home to my mother, bro. I don't give a fuck, bro. And I'm going home with my self-dignity and respect for myself, bro, right? Like, nothing's taking that away from me. And I used to tell my brother, the only thing you need to worry about in here is you come in as a man and you go home as a man with your pride and your dignity and your honor. That's it. You don't need nothing else. You just need you need to be able to look yourself in the mirror. You need to go home with your pride and your honor and know that you stood up and you stood tall and you did the right thing. That's it, bro. You go home. That's it. But and as another convict, other convicts that are in there, they shouldn't want these young kids catching life sentences or catching more time and shit. They should be the ones doing it themselves. And that's always the hypocritical thing, is that a lot of lifers gas up these kids doing 10 years or 5 years to do shit that they should have been doing themselves. And shame on them for that. But anyways, right? Yeah, so my brother gets into it with the cops, bro. And they call it a gang hit. That's what they're calling it. So when it first happened, my boy P came back from court. He comes up to the tier and he tells me, yo, Maddie, He's like, I think your brother just this. He's in booking right now, and they're saying some crazy shit happened. It didn't look good, bro. And they had just grabbed us off the rec deck and locked us in, and it looked really crazy. And they were talking about a cop got stabbed, and I'm like, really? Now, because I just heard a cop got stabbed, and I know if a cop gets stabbed, you're getting 20 years. You know what I mean? You're not gonna get around. You're gonna get smoked bad, bro. So I'm thinking I just lost my brother. You know what I mean? I just lost him for 20 more years. And I was distraught. So I told there was a CO up there that I fucked with, like, not like that, but like he respected me. I've been around forever, and you will get those COs that respect the real convicts, bro. Like they have respect for guys who aren't rats and skinners, bro. Like they have respect for you, bro. And so I go over and I'm in the cage, one of these cages right behind me. Matter of fact, it's hard to see it, but it's the one right here. Like if my finger is actually pointing to the same cage it is for me as it is for you, it's the one right here. So like I was sitting in this cage and I'm talking to the dude Vlad, and I'm like, listen, did my brother get Stabasio? I'm not leaving this cage until you fucking tell me what's going on with my brother. I don't give a fuck. And so he's like, he didn't want to tell me at first. So I called Medic 5 and I had mental health come up there and I said, I want to know what you know. What happened with my brother? And they wouldn't tell me nothing. And so I when Vlad came back in, I said, listen, bro, I am not leaving here, dude. Not leaving here until you tell me, bro. I need to know what's going on with my brother. I didn't do anything wrong. This isn't me that did that. And I need to know. This is me. This is my family. You know what I mean? Like, I understand you guys are probably all hating them right now, but I need to know from me, bro. And because you have respect for me and I treat you with respect, please just respect me enough to tell me this, bro. And he told me straight up, like, yeah, he was involved in it. I just chills, bro. Like, I can't even tell you the feeling. It was just chills. I was like, I was distraught. I was sad for my brother. So I go back to the cell and I'm fucked up in the head, bro. But come to find out, he didn't stab the cop. When he punched him, the cop spun around, hit his face off the door, and was split open really bad and bleeding, and they thought it was a weapon. But for in my brother's behalf, on his favor, they were really torturing him, bro. Like they kept on throwing him in the hole for missing his door, and they would close the doors, like, knowing he's in the shower or doing whatever. And Ryan was, like I said, on his first bid, and he was gas, all gas, no brakes, you know what I mean? Like live wire, pedal to the metal type shit, bro. And so he didn't take the time to reflect on himself. He just went all gusto, bro. No shorts, no disrespect type shit, just going hard type shit. Like that was him, bro. And I couldn't disrespect him for that. I did the same thing on my first bid. But nonetheless, it still hurt me, kid. And so now I'm thinking maybe this is how my family felt when I beat up the CO, and they were worried about me just the way I'm worried about him. And it's like, fuck, man. But that happens. And boom, they shut the place down. And bro, literally the next Monday goes by. The next Monday comes. That happens like a Friday or something like that. Monday comes. The prison was locked down with no phone calls, no nothing for the weekend. And we knew they were going to come in and do a shakedown on Monday. So when this happens, Monday, about 5:00 comes. They're doing showers. And when I go to shower, I come back, I lock in my cell. They come to my door and they tell me I'm going on accountability status. I said, going on accountability status for what? And they said, you had a curtain up in my cell when I went to the shower. So now I'm like, oh, okay, so you guys are going to fuck with me. That's what you guys are going to do? Because the shit happened when okay. So get the fucking move, team. I ain't going anywhere, right? So I put the curtain back up over my door and I grabbed the razor blade and I went in, bro. I cut my bicep right off my tendon. The shit snapped back up in my arm. I cut myself so deep. Bro, the move team gets up there. They're like, give you a razor. Nope. Come in, smashed me out, dragged me out, bring me to the proto. But when they're pulling me out of my cell, they're walking me by where this place is. So it's the CO's desk. It's the CO's room where they sit in there. And it's literally, you can see it on here too. You can't see it exactly, but it's here. So at the end of this hallway, I think it's right here. So at the end of this tier right here, where those windows are behind the TV, to the left, it's right there to the left. So it's literally right in there. or either that or to the right. I can't tell the way this is looking. Like it's weird. I can't tell the angle because like pictures are flipped around, but it's either to the right or the left, right there at the end of the tier. It's a little room, and it's basically the same room as the medical protocol room, but it's the CO's room. They put the protocol room on the other side, on the L3 side of the tier. And they're walking me by this for no reason whatsoever. Should any convict ever be in there? Dude, they start trying to drag me in there. The sergeant that was on Casper tells him, put him in there. And so they start pulling me in there, bro, right? And I'm like, hell no, motherfucker. So I dug my feet in. They bring me into the little medical room. They tell the nurses to leave. I wouldn't let them cuff and shackle my legs. So they're trying to put the shackles on my legs. They're like, put your legs together so we can shackle them. I sprung my legs so far apart. Bro, it was fucking comedy, dude, right? They hopped on me, start smashing me out. Casper's telling me, this is for your brother. This is for your brother. I said, you punch like a bitch. My brother smashes shit, bro. Like, you can't, it's not even equal. You know what I mean? Whatever, bro, right? But, but this is the thing, bro, right? Like, those COs and now, like, being a Christian and everything, those COs were just fighting for their brother. And I look back and, as traumatizing as this situation was for me, I think that they don't understand. And I pray that they fucking see. I pray that they see just what they're doing to people in there. You know what I mean? Someday, like, that God could just drop a little wisdom on them, drop a little bit of knowledge on them, just let them see what they're doing. You know what I mean? Because that shit fucked with me, bro. Bad. Just having no control. They kept on just coming and just trying to write me up and just move on me. Because my brother, like, bro, like, yeah, this shit happened. Like, did I do anything though? Tell me when I do something. You know what I mean? Because I do plenty, but you just gotta wait. You know what I mean? Give it some time. Sure enough, you'll have a good reason to move on. But not right now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm falling back and behaving, bro, because I know the first time I came in, I know like how to get what I need and just slide by. That's to go under the radar. I don't want to talk to the cops ever. I don't want to talk to the administration ever. I don't want them to talk to me ever because I don't want them to know I'm even there. And that's the way you got to do your bid. But, it doesn't ever work like that. You know what I mean? Especially if you're me. But anyways, right? Going through all that shit there, man, like I went through a whole stretch of time where I was so depressed from not having, I stopped doing everything all at once, the Suboxone, the K2, everything. And I just went into a straight up withdrawal. And so after it was done kicking, I kind of got into myself. I was working. I would just, I leaned into my workouts heavy as the only way to cope with my, being in solitary confinement and all that shit. And there were stretches of time where I'd fight the move team back to back, where I would just be so aggravated, like they cancel gym or whatever the fucking situation is. And I just blow my lid because, after a certain amount of time, you lose control of your fucking, you know what I mean? It's just nuts, bro. But it seems like we're not going to have enough time to finish this and get into the actual, get into the rest of my DDU time. Do you guys want me to finish this story? Let me know if you want me to finish my DDU story because I have way more to talk about, bro. If you look at the thumbnail, so I'm going to tell you that story before we go. I got to tell you because it's on the thumbnail. And this is getting into my DDU time. But I have a lot more to go with my STP. I have a lot more to go with DDU and solitary and everything to do with it because this shit is so fucking horrendous. Like you could talk for days just about every aspect about what's going on in there. And none of it was right, bro. It's still going on till this day. Like when we think about these things like as being so far off, they're not. They're happening right now to people, real people. Kicker, Jerry, Boo Boo, like all these guys I talk about or whatever that aren't here on my channel. It's because they're there. You know what I mean? Like I'm not making videos about them without them here for no reason. Like they're either in prison or lost in addiction. Like that's what I'm pretty sure Danny's like. I don't know, but like it's bad for ex-convicts that do a lot of time. We get out here and we don't know how to cope. We don't know what to do to make the money that we need to make in order to live and survive because you start so far back with no credit. Like someone like me, I went in at 19. I got out with no credit, right? So it's like, fuck, man, what do I do? But anyways, right? So this time that happens to me. So the picture on the thumbnail, I wish I had the other pictures to put into this video, but I'm not about to go into it because it's going to demonetize my video. And I'm pretty sure just even have that on the thumbnail might get me a yellow dollar sign, which sucks because, whatever, bro. I need that shit, but whatever, right? So, this dude, I go to DDU, right? So this one was for Driscoll when I smashed out Driscoll. So I see Driscoll in Old Colony. I broke his jaw, I broke his nose, I gave him a concussion. I split his lip from his nose all the way to his mouth so it looked like he had a hair lip. You can move it like this. I put platinum rods in his jaw. My boy Otis ran in, jumped in the fight, and booted him in the nuts and in the face so hard, man, took the wind out of the room. Like, this kid got a beating. You know what I mean? Like an old school beating. You could hear him screaming in the next block over, right? No bullshit. Betty, no! Right? Anyways, so I end up waiting in the hole in Old Colony for 3 months. Then after that, they shipped me over to DDU because they changed the laws. And when they changed the laws in Massachusetts to favor people with SMIs who are struggling with mental health in solitary confinement, what that did was flooded those blocks with convicts. So now there's no beds in there for the people that actually need it. And you got all these dudes that are just quasi-normal, just not even don't need it at all. And you got schizophrenic people talking to themselves and fucking going nuts in the actual DDU where they're not even supposed to be. This shit's fucking backwards. It's nuts, bro, right? Not to mention that the only way you can get good time in Susan Baranowski Correctional Center is by going to DDU. And that is how I got 2 years of good time on my sentence, is because I kept on kicking people and stabbing them and stomping them or whatever, bro. And I kept on going to DDU and racking up good time so I could go home early. But if you're in population, you get nothing, dude. Straight dick. Nothing but cock. No, you don't get cock. I'm just joking. There's no gay stuff going on in the Max. I was just fucking around. That came out wrong. Right? But you get nothing, bro. Like, you get nothing. There is programs and shit like that, but just like, I feel like they only give it to specific people or something, bro. Like, but if you're people like me, like, they don't want you walking around, they're worried about you getting into problems. It's like they cordon you off into a specific unit and like you never get to leave, like, type shit. But like, when I first get over to DDU, this is the first time I'm actually getting, is it the first time? No, it's the second time I'm in DDU, the actual DDU. Second time I'm in actual DDU. So I get over there, and the what you're gonna know right away when you get to DDU is you are in the police station all over again. You have none of your property. You don't have your TV for at least 30 to 90 days. Usually 30 days, whatever, 45 days sometimes. But you don't have nothing, bro. And up until recently, you would only get bobos. You don't get hygiene or anything. And now, even now, you still would only be able to order specific hygiene products. You didn't get to order like lotion or anything that could be slippery, like shampoo, conditioner, anything like you could squeeze it out. You have to get lotion orders from the nurse. Like, anything slippery, anything you could squeeze out of a bottle, you're not getting it. The only thing you could buy is deodorant and soap and floss loops and toothpaste. That's it. Like, you can't buy any of the good shit, right? So you're going to be without, like, especially if you like maintaining and taking care of yourself, you're not going to have shit. So you get over there, you have nothing. So right when I get there, somebody's, my boy Garrett. Oh man, salute to Garrett, bro. My guy. I got to get into those stories. I'm definitely going to do a part 2. I definitely got to do a part 2. Just doing time with Garrett and DDU, doing time with all my guys in DDU. I've never told this story like this before. I've glossed over my DDU stories, just telling you about DDU and how it was there. But I've never told you the actual stories about DDU. So this is why this is so cool, right? For me. And it keeps it present in my mind, because the number one way to go back is to forget. This is how I don't forget, right? So anyways, there's crazy violence going on in the tier. The cops are hopping on guys left and right. So right in front of my cell, this kid Joey gets hopped on, and they smashing his face into the ground. Ladico and Samuel smashing his face into the ground, straight up punching him. Right there at the end of the tier, 2 mental health people waiting to do the program. That's where they were escorting him to. And they hopped on him because he said he has this other convict's back who they just assaulted. So they got 2 the same day in stunning, stellar fashion. Stitches, hospital. They were supposed to go to the hospital, but they just took this kid, right? Joey. They sent him up to this freaking nurse that literally told, like, she'll tell you if you have a headache to stop beating off and drink more water. That is her legit response to somebody. Stop beating off and drink more water. I'm not lying. This lady's a hack. She's sucked, right? She's like an Arab lady, something like, but she goes up, dude, she does this kid stitches. Bro, it looked like she squished way more skin than needed to be. It was like a vagina on his eye. It was terrible, bro, right? But they sent him up to a whole nother unit. Like after he comes back to the block, right? And when he was gone, though, after they beat him up, they went and searched his cell. And while they were in his cell, this fucking maggot, dude, I could hear him going, and then so he spit on something, right? This is during COVID. Kid comes back a couple days later. They do testing for COVID randomly. He's got COVID. So they throw him up in a unit all by himself, take all his property out of his cell, put it in a barrel and throw it somewhere. Bro, give the kid a radio and left him up there with nothing for fucking weeks. Then he comes back. We find out what happened. We're like, dude, what the fuck? So we tell dudes, I tell him, like, yo, we have to fight. They cannot do this or they'll do this and they'll keep doing this. So we have to do something about it, right? So people refuse to fight the move team. So I called my attorney. I had my attorney come and see me. I told her, look, this is what's going on over here, dude. And now some people might call that ratting, but I call it dealing with them the way they deal with us, bro. Because what am I supposed to do? They just come in, smash me out. We get nothing done, but we're getting brutalized. This is the only way to handle this situation, bro. Like we had to get the word out there to attorneys. And the worst that's going to happen for them is they just change it. No one's going to get fired. No one's going to go to prison. But when they do it to us and we retaliate, we're going to prison for more time. You know what I mean? We don't have to worry about getting fired. We're where we're going to be, you know? So long story short with this one, bro, I go out, they're listening while I'm talking to that attorney. Ladico come over. He said something to him. They looked in. I seen it. I knew something fuck was going to happen, bro. I said, fuck it, bro. We got to stand together, bro. We got to do something. This is nuts, bro. They were killing people. Like that same year, 2 people died from one suicide. Right. There's no way. No fucking way. I'll tell you those stories in part 2. But so it's just getting wilder and wilder. I had to do it. So when I get back to my cell, everything's gone. Nothing in there. Nothing in there but one thing. And that's a razor blade on my desk. Dude comes to my door and says, you know what to do. And he's looking at the desk like this. Like, you know what to do. You know what time it is. Like, if you want to get us in there, you want to fight us, this is how you do it. Said, bro, I didn't want to give them what they wanted at first. But I kept on trying to, get shit done. I tried to call lieutenant to my door, ask him why they took my shit, find out a real answer, bro. And what they said was they searched my cell and they found a weapon and that it was a fishing hook. We were fishing through the toilet and there was a hook. They found it and they said it was a knife, right? But they come in and they end up smashing my derby, smash me in the face with move team helmets, smash my head into the ground, stomp my kidneys. They beat me up so savagely that picture is actually by an IP who took that picture, and it's through the medical room, and it's the window in the medical room. And he said that he was so sick of the way the cops were getting away with beating so many people up that he was going to help me with this one. He took those pictures so clutch, dude, right? I put in a lawsuit, and this was a slam dunk like no other, but I never pursued it. So I guess this is my revenge. Anyways, guys, peace out, man. I appreciate everybody for showing up tonight. I love y'all, man. You guys make my freaking week. You make my days. You make my life, man. This is my life now, bro. And I appreciate everybody for showing up. Please, please, please hit subscribe. Please hit like. Please hit share. These videos are just going to keep getting better and better and better. Getting a little weird. Anyways, bro, I haven't slept in a long time. I'm just kidding. Not really. Anyways, guys, I appreciate y'all. W number. Ow.